One of the latest re-releases is today's featured video for World of Tanks console, and it is of course the Edelweiss, the tier 8 Japanese premium tank that is a medium, and it is a really good medium at that. It pretty much has everything that you could possibly want from a medium tank. I'm talking view range, it's got armor, it's got the alpha and DPM, and it's also got the fact that it's a novel tank and one that you probably won't see ever in terms of tech tree or premium tanks that are historically accurate coming into World of Tanks, because this is of course a licensed tank and is only available for a few weeks, so you won't be able to continuously get this one, unfortunately, if you are interested in potentially picking this tank up later on down the line. However, what this tank can do right now is be picked up for 9,000 gold, so it is quite expensive for you to be able to pick it up. Depending on what package you go for, you could go for the lower bundle. It really depends on what you guys are wanting. Do you want the extra premium commander, etc.? If you do want this tank, and this is what this video is going to showcase, whether or not you should be spending your money, because ultimately it is a tank that really depends on your playstyle as to whether you're going to really enjoy the tank itself. And there are definitely a few things that I find annoying about the tank, to say the least, and one of them is the gun depression. Now, gun depression doesn't usually play a massive factor in a lot of medium tanks because they typically are designed so that they have better gun depression, so you can be more flexible, you can use ridge lines, etc. To be able to not just derp your way around. But the Edelweiss, unfortunately, is a tank that wasn't actually designed in real life, and therefore obviously no one's thought about the fact that you do want to be able to shoot over the front of your tank, and so you end up with better gun depression over the sides of your tank, which means that you have to expose all of that weak side armor if you do actually want to be able to get any shots off. So yeah, not the best design I've ever seen in a premium tank. But it doesn't matter when you have the statistics that this vehicle has. You can see here we're able to get up to high speeds with a tank that is predominantly pretty heavily armoured. And that means that you can ram things in the Edelweiss, which is something that can't be said for a lot of mediums. Usually you come off worse, but with this tank you can definitely end up ramming into things. And the other thing, kind of on a similar topic to the mobility, you can get into positions like this where you don't take any hits because you've got that mobility to get into these positions quickly, and the spaced armor actually provides quite a bit of safety. As we Amaraki Yag Tiger 88 there, yeah, not 940 alpha usually, but obviously got very, very lucky to be able to do that in that round. But regardless of the ammo rack, you could see how quickly it is to, this tank can basically rack up that DPM, or damage I should say, and that means that this tank is genuinely probably one of the better ones that Wargaming have released, at least recently. And if we compare it to the other kind of Japanese tank that came out alongside this, the Nameless, I don't really think there's much of a competition between the two. This tank is definitely the better of the two, but there will be a video on the next one coming out very, very soon where you can see exactly what the Nameless is capable of comparatively to, of course, this tank, the Edelweiss. Although they are very, very similar, don't get me wrong, these two tanks are pretty much the same tank model, except the Nameless has slightly better armor. Edelweiss sacrifices a lot of the armor to get the mobility, to get the gun handling, to basically get everything else better but the armor model. So you kind of see where I'm getting. Not all the time is it ever worth it to sacrifice all of the good things about your tank to be able to just get a little bit more armor, and even then it's not that much significantly better. And one thing that you'll notice within this gameplay of the Edelweiss itself is that the view range of the tank is actually very good, and that's why we're able to pick up 2,000 assist damage within this, which means that, yeah, you can have really good games where you are able to have kind of the high damage results, not only the actual damage but the assistance damage, and hence why you saw us being able to pick up over 5,000 damage combined within this game. Can't be said in every game, bear that in mind, however, and that is probably because the tank is fairly well balanced. It's not an overpowered tank that Wargaming typically release, and so there you go. I think the Edelweiss, will check out one more gameplay to showcase a little bit of extras. It's not going to be an amazing game, but it will showcase exactly how you can use the tank in some more kind of interesting scenarios. Maybe get a town map, for example. Now then, this gameplay, Highway. This game kind of showcases what you can do with the mobility in specific and how that can really affect your gameplay and be able for you to kind of advance forward and maybe increase the chances of winning. Maybe not necessarily get the most, damage or have that super high result where somehow you've managed to pick up, 10k damage, because it's not going to happen in the Edelweiss. The DPM isn't good enough to be able to do that. The kind of extras about the tank, the extra features, the view range isn't super good to the point where maybe that becomes a possibility, and I just think that it's a very, it's better than average. It's an above average tank, but it is what it is. It's above average. It's not excellent, it's not way above average. It is one of those that I think if you're interested in medium tanks and pure medium tanks, then the Edelweiss is a perfect tank for you, because it just has so much. There is so many different aspects of the tank that you can use. The gun depression aspect makes it a little bit difficult to play, which means you have to be pretty kind of careful as to what you're doing to really have those super nice games. But it also allows you, when you do get those games and when you can use those features, to have some really great results. And you saw there we managed to crash into the Barask, and that's one thing I wanted to talk about, is actually the kind of the heaviness. You saw how quickly or how much the Barask moved when he rammed into us, and obviously he's a friendly so it doesn't count, but this tank's got some weight to it, and that is exactly what I'm trying to kind of iterate to you guys, or explain to you guys, is that if you're coming up against a light tank, don't back out of the ram. There is no need for you to back out of the ram. You are more than suffice to be able to kind of ram and deal way more damage to those light tanks, and to a lot of medium tanks. Say if you were ramming a CDC, for example, there's no way the CDC is going to be able to kind of take your ramming hits, so don't worry about that, and you can kind of make of that what you will. Unfortunately here we're taking a couple shots from across the way, and that will be dealt with in a little short period of time, but we don't really need to talk about that too much, because at this moment in time what we're doing is we're just feathering shots, and because the accuracy of the Edelweiss is actually really good, it means that we can pinpoint the various different weak points, and we can pick out the track armor, and we can literally just annoy and harass the opponents that we're coming up against. We've got like about a 4-second reload to be able to fully reload this tank. I think it is 240 alpha, which means you've got plenty of time, a very short period of time, to be able to kind of retrack opponents, which means that you can just constantly harass the opponents that you're coming up against. And that is where I really enjoy these sorts of tanks, where you can just put your rounds, you know that they're going to hit, you know exactly how to predict them, you know what kind of tanks that you're going to be best against, most predominantly heavy tanks, although saying the accuracy, we derp a shell way over the IS there, don't quite know what happened there, but yeah, other than the fact of that shell, you can see exactly what this tank is capable of, and it is just such a quick tank, really good accuracy on the move. You've got great accuracy when you fully aim, you've got decent armor to the point where you can bounce a few rounds, although I don't know if we've bounced any here, but I think that's where I think that the tank really performs admirably. And you compare it to something like a T44, I just think this tank is way more flexible, and although you may not get the alpha damage as some of the guns on the T44, you get all of the other aspects that the T44 lacks in terms of the speed and the kind of turning and all of the extras that come with the Edelweiss. And now, do I mean for everyone who watches this video to go out and purchase this and give Wargaming their hard-earned cash? Absolutely not. This tank is probably not one for a new player. It's probably not one for necessarily everyone, because I think that there are some aspects that limit this tank, and if you don't know how to play tanks, where you have to look over the side, and where you don't really know about gun depression and how to use it correctly, where you can use the effective gun depression and all of the extras that come alongside that, then yeah, I definitely think that you guys need to think about that before you purchase this tank, and that's something that, yeah, many people probably get wrong, and why it always goes so wrong when you're looking at a tank like this. But you can see here we're able to use the effective gun depression, but it does kind of showcase how much of the tank you have to expose to be able to do that, which is of course a limiting factor. And talking about limiting factors, it's just the kind of sheer like auto aim potential that opponents can do to you. And yeah, we get taken out very, very swiftly by the Barras there, who doesn't really have to aim, and that's where this boxy tank comes to the downfall. And although we picked up 3,600 combined damage and a good result, ultimately it wasn't enough to be able to survive the entire battle, and as soon as you actually get picked out within the game, you don't last very long, and therefore I don't really recommend this tank for the newer player or someone that's not got as much experience, and certainly not for someone that has a very limited amount of experience with medium tanks in particular. Hopefully this video gave a good overview of the Edelweiss. I want to say a massive thank you to Fat Little Bernie for gifting both the Edelweiss and the Nameless for this video. It's just fantastic that you managed to actually do that. Really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for being so generous to be able to actually gift it to me so I can own it forever, and we can continue and play in these tanks forever, rather than just the rental period that I get from Wargaming lending me the tank essentially, so I can review it and tell you that you should probably buy or not buy the tank that they release. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to check out any of the other tanks, there will be both the Nameless and also the T112 or the 122 version on console on Cold War, then make sure to stick around and also check out those videos if you're watching this prior to those videos coming out. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully you enjoy those, and I hope that I'll join you in the next one. Goodbye.